I so enjoyed meeting with you guys, talking with you guys, and yesterday discussing the epidemic that is worse than this virus that is taking place in Tampa, where I'm from, and Houston, Texas here. There's something that's spreading even farther than some virus, and that is the great decline we're seeing in American churches the last 10 years, 20 years. And we've been declining since the 1990s. We stopped growing, and we've been going downhill ever since. Now, I'm going to be gone in a couple of days. I've really enjoyed being together with you. It was an exceptional experience. These slides, if you want to see them in video format, or download them, or access e-books that will train you in campus work, street work, cold approach, door knocking, a wide range of venues, including marketing work, doing things in the market, advertising work, social media, going to my blog. I have recorded last 3 years of evangelism work every month, and has a lot of good data. All my materials are free. I have Bible lessons you can download. It's all free, and you can go to the site to access this material. Because when I'm gone, as much as I enjoyed seeing you guys, I'm gone. These slides can be heard today and tomorrow, but then they won't be heard unless you get a CD or listen to it on the website. But you can access my content as much as you want, as long as you want for free at this website right here. And this is years worth of data and work. And it will also outline a lot more success stories than what we're going to outline today. What I've heard from the Brotherhood too often is this phrase. Have you ever heard it? Ask this question in your mind, and you can answer in your mind. And again, what was mentioned by Brother Ken, there's going to be a Q&A after this, so write down any questions you have. But answer this question in your mind if you've heard this question. Evangelism does not work. I've heard that. Guess who I've heard it from? I've heard it from saints. I've heard Christians say evangelism doesn't work. I'm here to tell you today, I've interacted with people who have saved souls. I have had the blessed experience of baptizing people after studying with them. I work with people who have saved souls. I know of saints throughout the country who have saved souls. And you know how that happened? Because evangelism worked when people were willing to do the work. Now here's some success stories right here. Right here is Iris Stevens. The story about Iris Stevens, her husband Bob Stevens fell away a couple of years. And he was at Sam's Club. I don't know if you have the Sam's Club grocery store around here, but he's walking around Sam's Club, and a member at the Lord's Church, he's 94 years old, this old man that goes to the church where Bob Stevens used to go. He came across Brother Bill King, and Bill King says, "Hey, you haven't been to church in a couple of years. You need to go back. We miss you. God wants you to come back to the church." Guess what happened? It bothered him. He thought about it. He was somewhat offended, but he thought about it some more, and he started coming to church. During the time period when he had fallen away, he married that woman right there, Iris Stevens. She started coming to church. And nobody invited her to a Bible study until an old lady, she has heart issues, she has health problems. She came up to Iris Stevens, and she says, "Come over to my home for a home-cooked meal and a Bible study." I taught the class. Iris Stevens was baptized. We taught the home Bible study by Johnny Edwards, just to let you know what we taught. It's an exceptional curriculum. She brought her sister to the Bible study, Betty Murdoch. We studied with her. She was converted. They brought their other sister, who's not in this picture, and guess what happened? This is a trickle-down effect of evangelism. One person converts, a husband, he brings his wife, they bring their kids, they talk to their neighbors. New converts are very good about generating more converts. And so this type of evangelism here is called, quote, cold approach or friendship evangelism, when you invite somebody to a, quote, home-cooked meal and a Bible study and you have somebody teach a class, or out to eat. at some fast food place and you teach a Bible class there at Chick-fil-A. Another example, Sydney Lumley. Now this is an example of sowing the seed. People say, well, I reached such and such people and I talked to such and such people and I never saw a result. This is an example. When you sow a seed, you may never see the result. That does not mean the result did not take place. Jacob Jordan. In 1 year, he converted 20 people. This guy is awesome. He's about Timothy's age and my age. Great guy. He's an evangelist. He put up in his front yard a sign that says, "Come to my home for Bible study." This lady walked in, a neighbor, and had a Bible study with him. She did multiple studies with him. She was not ready to accept the truth. 3 or 4 years later, this old lady I told you about, Darlene McCrae, she has breathing issues. She has heart issues. Her husband died a couple of years ago. She's all alone. She struggles. If she can do this, and she's in her late 70s, early 80s, anybody can do this. Come to my home. She's a neighbor of Darlene McCrae's. Come to my home for a home-cooked meal and a Bible study. I taught the class. She wasn't ready a couple of years ago, but then the seed was planted. We watered the seed, and what does it say? God gave the increase. She is still faithful today. All of these women are still faithful. These two women are two of the hardest working members of the church. This lady, I gave her the Muscle and Shovel book. After she was converted, she read through it in 1 day with tears in her eyes, how much she appreciated that book. E. Joe is a great guy about giving out that book. Exceptional way to grow the church and do his work. The website I mentioned has techniques about sharing the Muscle and Shovel book. This lady is my mom. She has congestive heart failure. She has a bad hip, bad knee. She walks around in a cane. She goes with me door knocking, doing market work, street evangelism work, campus work. She has saved a lot of souls through the years. She helps with it. This is at our house, and we were having Bible studies with these new converts. So Darlene McCrae has Bible studies, and my mother as well. Sarah Delgado. This lady walked in from the street. I have seen this way too many times. People walk in from the street, nobody, not here, but other places, no one talks to them. They're not Christians, they walk out. Missed opportunity. My mom sat next to her before worship, talked with her, befriended her, and invited her over for what? A home-cooked meal and a Bible study. They had a couple of Bible studies. Sarah is still faithful today. She helps them with door knocking, campus work, street evangelism. She is a go-getter. Mom studied with her. She got baptized. I studied with all these women for a couple of years. A rule of thumb when it comes to studying with new converts, I have an 80% retention rate. And how I do that, in large part, is I study with new converts each week for at least a year. All these ladies I studied with for about 2 to 3 years. Again, friendship, cold approach evangelism. This is Darlene McCrae's relative that lives nearby. She invited her over for a home-cooked meal and a Bible study. And Darlene McCrae has invited hundreds of other people. Some say no, some say yes. These are the results of those, some of the results. There are other results of those who have said yes through the years. She said yes. I studied with her. She was baptized. Used the home Bible study by Johnny Edwards. There are a lot of good curriculum. That's one type of curriculum to use out of others. So this is one example that shows evangelism absolutely works. 100% works. Now I talked with some people yesterday and had some great conversations about, and we mentioned this, flea market. Now this is powerful. People, hundreds of people walking by. They're looking for stuff. They're searching for stuff. And all you have to do is, for me it was $35, Big Top Flea Market, Tampa, Florida. I rented a vendor area. People walked by. There's a guy who's signing up for a Bible study. There is a young man right there signing up for a Bible study. Sarah Delgado, new convert. She's been doing it for a couple of years with me, helping with this work. Kim Conrad, a member from another church. You can invite people, Christians from other churches who are in the Faithful Brotherhood, church members to help you. if they're so inclined. You can network, build connections doing that. She has been helping me for years. Really pivotal in helping me get connections. And of course my mother. And so people walk by. Let me give a demonstration. They're walking by. I got Bibles, I got DVDs, I got a sign-up sheet, I got tracts and flyers for the church, and Bible material content. So I have a sign-up sheet, I got a clipboard, I got a pen. People are walking by, I smile, I wave, and I say, hey, would you like to sign up for a Bible study? We're studying at the restaurant right up the street, McDonald's, we would love to have you. Simple as that. You're warm, you're friendly. What I do, if I go up to Ken and say, hey, Ken, study the Bible with me. If I'm aloof, hostile, aggressive, unfriendly, that's not going to be useful. But if I'm as meek as milk, hey, how are you doing today? Would you like to study the Bible? Just a simple invite. And the more personal it is, you try to get their attention, you smile, you wave, you can introduce yourself, shake their hand, the better. Ricky Shanks, one of the best evangelists I know, says, being personal is worth $100 in advertisements when it comes to evangelism. Instead of spending $100 in advertising your church or the plan of salvation, being personal is more powerful than that. The more personal the method, the more effective the result, the more likely you are to get a result. So we got Bible study signatures doing this. So it's a great way to do it. Flea market work, fairground, festivals, any place where you can rent a booth, you can do this. And you can also, I was talking to Ken and talking to you earlier, that you can get people's attention. You can hold up a DVD or a Bible and say, would you like a free Bible, free DVD? And that gets their attention. They may be interested, they may not, but when you get their attention, they respond. That creates a dialogue. And also makes it more professional. The more professional something looks, when you got stuff all up on the table, when you got a very professional appearance, it builds trust. In how I look, I mean, I'm not a very aesthetic type of individual, but I dress nice to a degree. It builds trust. If I dress poorly, that deteriorates the trust level. If this is all messy and there's not a lot of trust-building content, that doesn't help with the trust-building factor. So it's good to have things that help build trust, which is items and to dress nice, or moderately nice. Now this lady, Priscilla and Aquila. I heard Brother Ejo mention that his wife was such a wonderful influence in him doing evangelism work. Sounds like an amazing lady. And I heard that you two are evangelistic, a couple that loves to do God's work. And that is beautiful. This lady, she was terrified at first to do evangelism. Door knocking was scary. She started getting contacts and she started doing work and getting results. This lady right here, Hannah Berman, is a result of Janice Cheeves and me and some others doing door knocking. And she came to the Lord. A wonderful lady. She's had a very hard life. And let me just say, I'll say this on Sunday, but the best people to target are people that are poor, people that are hurting, people that have had a difficult past. People that have a perfect life, they're less likely to accept Jesus Christ and want to go to heaven if everything is peachy in this world. She came to the Lord. She was baptized. And that's a picture of her after her baptism right there. Now this is beautiful right here. All of these are non-Christians or new converts. And this is due to door knocking. Now what we did, we went door knocking at these apartment complexes. One of the members lived at this apartment, so she went with us. And we had a flyer. We gave everybody a flyer. We are going to get together at 10 a.m. on Wednesday for Bible studies. So we invited everybody. And then we just got together on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. outdoors, very small apartment area. And people started trickling in and trickling out. But through these Bible studies, we got conversions. So this is a door knocking formula. You can, and my website details this in a lot more detail, churchofchristevangelism.com. But Jack Adams, this guy right here, he's in his late 70s, late 60s, early 70s. That guy right there, Gets up at 5 a.m., studies his Bible, works out, and he runs me into the ground doing evangelism. Exceptional guy. Converted 100 people in 1 year. Exceptional guy. This guy is a young preacher. He was visiting, and we did evangelism with him. Great guy. Visiting preacher. This is Janice Cheeve's husband, the Priscilla to the Aquila, and his name is Reggie Cheeves. And man, that guy just started. He just started doing evangelism this year, last year, and it was scary. Now he's teaching the classes. Now he's helping us with new converts. And so we're going to get into who was converted here, but it's an exceptional way. When we have Bible studies with these people, where we're teaching them things, but when they have like questions, at the end of the Bible class, we ask, do you have any questions? And if they say, well, this lady right here says, I don't know if God loves me. She had a very, I don't want to get into her, shared these personal details, but she didn't believe God loved her. So what I injected said, we'll get together after this Bible study sometime and have a personal study with you. This enables us to get our foot in the door. When we have a personal study with her, we shared with her that God does love her and why He loved her, what Jesus did, and what she needed to do to get in a relationship with Him. Other people had Bible questions. And James here, we got our foot in the door when we had this apartment public Bible study, and we had a study with him. He had some questions. So that's a good way to do it. You build connections, you build contacts, and then you try to set up personal one-on-one studies. And that's absolutely a great way to go about this. Now, speaking of James Ostino, this is he died with the Lord last year. And it was through this door-knocking effort. We studied with him. He loves reading his Bible. He wants to learn how to teach. He wants he reads his Bible all the time. I come into his apartment, and he has his Bible open, and he has the TV on, and there's a Bible movie on. He's always talking about Jesus. And he is in his 30s. He's a great young man. So he was baptized. And he continues to go to the Bible studies at the apartment complex. And he loves coming to church. And he's so full of life. Just an exceptional guy. Again, example that evangelism works. Another example, Paulette DIXON. Now this is an example of what we did at the apartment complex. We were having a Bible study. Afterwards, Jeannie Sullivan came up to Paulette and asked if she would like to have, after they connected and she was going to the studies regularly, the public studies. Would you like to have a study with me, one-on-one? Paulette said yes, and she was baptized. Wonderful lady. She has severe night terrors, a lot of health issues, but she comes to church regularly. She loves studying the Bible. She's still doing the Bible studies at the apartment complex. She's always talking about spiritual things, and she's an inspiration. She used to be homeless. She's gone through a lot of struggles. But she has the heart of what a Christian should be like. If every Christian was like Paulette DIXON, the kingdom of God would be completely transformed when it comes to the beautiful, selfless spirit she has. And I'm not saying the kingdom of God isn't good in a lot of areas, but I'm just saying if everybody had that type of disposition. Okay, now this is very important. This is Darlene McCrae. You can't really see her face. But through the years, she has done, quote, friendship evangelism or a cold approach evangelism, where she invites somebody over for a home-cooked meal and a Bible study. This is a picture of her doing that with one of the new members of the church. So I just want to quickly say Christian love matters. Now, if somebody was baptized, I've been to churches where somebody's baptized, and you hear crickets. No amens. They come out, nobody greets them. They sit down on Sundays and worship, and they sit by themselves. They leave church, no one talks to them. If you want to kill a new convert, guess how you do that? You do exactly what I just mentioned. How you keep new converts, you study with them regularly, you show them Christian love, you're supportive to them, and you have them over, hospitality. You get to know them. I was at a church, and it was about 30 people, and I had all the Christians over, and some of them just met each other for the first time in a church of 30. If your church is to grow, they need to know each other. They need to love each other. They need to interact with each other outside of Sunday service. And when it comes to new converts, they need to be included in interactions, and they need to be included in worship and activities. If you get a new convert, include them in evangelism work. Get their feet wet quickly. They can be used to help you with the work. They can be added to your team. They are the best resource to getting other new converts because they are on fire and they got a lot of connections. So it makes a difference. Hospitality, visiting them when they're sick, check up on the new converts, being there for them. Love in the Lord's church. If you're going to grow the church, love matters. Now this is the lady, Nancy McGahee. She was baptized. Please keep her in your prayers. She's in the hospital right now. She has some health issues. But she was the one who I mentioned who wasn't sure if God loved her. And we got together, we talked with her, we studied with her. She read through the Lost and Shovel book also in one day. I don't know what it is about one day, but she loved that book. I gave it to new converts I'm sure that after they're grounded for a couple of classes, I give that to them. And this is a picture of the church after she was baptized. And this is a picture of Nancy. Now this is Jack Adams, Janice Cheeves. These are the people that are helping with me with evangelism work. And this is the lady at the apartment complex, Lori Matthews, who we kind of went to her apartment and started doing this work, and we got results. So she comes to church regularly. She loves doing Bible studies. She's always hungry. She's always asking me for more Bible study material. She can study at the house, where she lives. Whenever I come over, guess what she's doing? I see her Bible open. She's a precious, precious lady. The beautiful thing about new converts is they're hungry, they're excited, they're zealous, they're sincere, and they're eager to do God's work. Mike Randall and Lori Matthews. Now, this is another example of evangelism. They were both biblically, scripturally baptized, but they weren't grounded in the true church and Bible authority. We got them grounded through Bible studies to teach them about authority in the true church. And they're both faithful members today. They've been coming for a long time. Mike loves passing out Bibles to people. He is very active in that. And Lori Matthews, she is responsible in large part for helping us coordinate events of evangelism work. Bob Mess right here, he helps with teaching Bible class. Again, that's Janice Cheeves, Jeannie Sullivan. They help with Bible studies with the ladies. And evangelism doesn't always work. These are the examples of people coming to the Lord. Bob Mess also was converted by Bill King, the guy I mentioned earlier, and 20 years ago. And these two ladies, again, doesn't always work. Had Bible studies with these two ladies. They weren't interested. That's just how it happens. But we had them all over for, again, hospitality, home-cooked meal, and a Bible study. And that's a powerful dynamite pack right there. Now this is exceptional. If you do get new converts, I highly encourage this. A new convert class. All these chairs here, guess who were filling those chairs? New converts and Bible class teachers. We rotate the Bible class teachers if one person is sick. It makes it easier if there's different people helping with this. So we get, on Sundays and Wednesdays during Bible class, we have a new convert class. It's much easier to ground them if we have 2 classes a week. And we do classes outside of church, but we get them all together at one spot. And we get them grounded. We go over the plan of salvation. They bring their friends over to church as well, and we invite them into this class. It's a perfect opportunity to train people, to ground people. We incorporate people that are not very experienced in training new converts into this class to train them by having them train the new converts, by having them teach. So this is a great way to ground new converts and interact with non-Christians. Having a new convert class on Sundays and Wednesdays. And this is an example of that door knocking. This guy, he is a powerhouse. Can you imagine doing Uber and Lyft on Saturdays and Sunday till 3 a.m. in the morning? Then he comes to church at 9 a.m. in the morning. This guy, he picks up new converts. He drives people to church. he's a charismatic, very friendly guy. He'll talk to you till he can't see straight. He's a very social guy, very friendly guy. He's a result of door knocking. We were doing door knocking. I was about to give up. I was doing it with Kim Conrad, the lady I mentioned who helps out from another church congregation, another member. And we're about to give up. We went to one more door. Guess who came to the door? Francis Baptiste. We talked with him an hour. And this is an example of sowing the seeds. You may never see the result. Somebody, I don't know who it was, told Francis about salvation in the true church. We knocked on his door. We talked an hour about salvation in the church. We invited him to come. He was hurting. He was about to get, his wife was going to leave him. We talked an hour. He said, somebody told me about this. I'm interested. Guess what happened? Because somebody else planted the seed and they probably will never know about the result. Francis came to church. He's one of the hardest workers at our church. Exceptional guy, in his 30s. And guess what happened when he came to church? I was out of town. I went to San Bernardino, California to do evangelism work. He came 3 months later. 3 months later. One of the members came up to Francis, and what do you think he did? He invited him over for a Bible study. And he was baptized. He's still faithful today. This was a couple of years ago. And he goes to Bible studies at different people's homes. And again, that's a good thing to do, is just have group Bible studies with Christians at people's homes. And so if he hadn't came up to Francis, now there has to be follow through. If you invite people to church and nobody invites him to a Bible study, you've got to follow through. He invited him to a Bible study. If he hadn't done that, Francis wouldn't have been baptized. It makes a difference to have follow through. Now, while Francis, and guess what? I came back to Tampa, Florida a little while back because my mom and dad have health issues. And I was at a non-church sponsored individual member potluck. And I ran into Francis. And I said, man, you look familiar. And I couldn't get my head on who that was. He looked so familiar. His gestures, his mannerism, he has this accent. He's from India. Man, that guy looks so familiar. And I found out later, he told somebody, oh yeah, I know him. He went door knocking. He's the one who brought me to church. And it's just amazing how things correlate. But while Francis was coming to church in Tampa, Florida, I was in San Bernardino, California, working with Rory Spell. In 9 years, he's converted 50 people. This guy is a dynamite. He's in his late 60s, early 70s. He is a powerhouse. He wears a cowboy hat. He's in California, but he wears a cowboy hat and cowboy boots. And he showed me how to do campus and street evangelism when I was working there. And this is a picture of his evangelistic, inclined, supportive wife, Lee Bell. So Kelly Jensen, we're doing street evangelism. She was walking by. We'll get into what street evangelism is tomorrow. And we studied with her. And I'm going to get into more details about our study with her, because there's a certain way to go about it that is very useful when it comes to studying with non-Christians. She was baptized that very day. She signed up for a Bible study. We got together with her the following day, me, Rory Spell, and at her apartment, and his wife. And we studied with her. She was baptized. She started coming to church, answering Bible class questions, eager. Showed up at an evangelism event, just walked up when I was doing street evangelism, where she signed up and started helping me, which is amazing. Aaron Eaton, campus work. We'll get into that tomorrow. Aaron Eaton he's a Lutheran. I got him to sign up for a Bible study. We met together at the college library, and he wanted to be baptized. Again, evangelism works. Aaron Eaton, he looks like a football player. Very nice guy. Okay, and I was talking to you about this, and about gangsters. Now, if you get a good ex-gangster helping you in evangelism who is driven, and he's turned his life to Christ, this is an example of that. Now, okay, I was doing street evangelism. I was about to give up. You can see on the sign-up sheet right here. I was about to give up. last Bible study signature doing street evangelism. And we'll get into that tomorrow. This lady here, Gabriela Gomez, signed her name. She just signed it and walked away. Her name and her phone number, and then she walked away. I didn't even talk with her. She was the last person. I was about to give up, and I worked a little bit longer. She contacted me a little while later. She says, I want to come to church. I want to have Bible studies. She started coming to church. She started bringing her little boy. I think he's about 2 years old at the time. She started coming, and her boyfriend started getting interested. Ruben Navrio Jr. He started coming to church. He went off of meth. He went off of drugs. He changed his life. They were in an abusive relationship. They changed. He wanted to have Bible studies too. They started coming regularly, each week, each month, 6 months, 7 months, coming faithfully. And then they started wanting to help me pass up Bibles and do street work. And they outworked me. I've trained preachers doing street work in San Bernardino, California, doing evangelism. I worked with Dan DeGarmo and other preachers. And those two outworked those folks. Outworked me. Why? Because they're new Christians. They're passionate. They had all that fire. And he was an ex-gangster. He had a hard life. He was homeless for a time. They chose to change their lives. And they actively, regularly worked 3 hours on the street with me, 3 hours doing campus work with me. Just passionate people. And she would bring her boy, and she would bring her 6-month baby. And they would come up to people and interact with them, with their kids, passionate for Jesus. So, and again, I worked, and when it comes to evangelism, pushing the envelope, we're about to wrap this up, is always good. Just if you're exhausted, just push yourself a little more. You never know if you're going to run into a Gabriela Gomez. Clark Abowd. This is a picture of Bruce Bell, the preacher I mentioned. Clark Abowd. He was a result of cyber evangelism. I was posting things on Facebook about evangelism work and everything. He saw it online. He wanted to learn more. He visited the church. He was in the area of San Bernardino, California. He started interacting, having social interactions with me and the preacher. The time I left, he came up to the preacher and wanted to have another study, another discussion. He was baptized. Clark Abowd was baptized. He's a very, very biblically literate, very knowledgeable in the Bible. Knows his book. And I've run Facebook ads. It's very cheap to invite people to church. Cyber evangelism works. I was talking with Brother Timothy, and we mentioned, could you mention his name? The guy who has 1 million people that go to his website.
Oh, Mark Copeland.
Mark Copeland. He's a brother in the conservative movement that is bringing a lot of people over through doing cyber evangelism. And that's another great venue for evangelism work. Facebook ads, websites, video posts, articles. I was having a Bible study with somebody, invited him to become a Facebook friend. He read my articles. He's changed his views on predestination and how to be saved. Cyber evangelism is another venue that works. So we're running out of time, but if you want more success stories on evangelism, if you want to download this slide, if you want to access ebooks on methodologies of evangelism, go to churchofchristevangelism.com. You can access resources you can keep for the rest of your life, exceptional resources that will help you in such work. And we're going to get into the methods tomorrow. Now, it's a Q&A session. If you have any questions, any comments, any feedback, any advice, any thoughts, any ideas, just...
I was curious, at the apartment complex, did you have a member living there before?
Yes, Lori Lewis Matthews. And so we went door knocking with her at this apartment complex, and it helps there's somebody that has connections, but it can be done without that connectivity. But it definitely was conductive when she was there with us, giving the invite to join us for those Bible studies. And Lori Matthews, she's still going to the studies with us. And again, I used to call her a member. She was baptized scripturally. She was visiting the church. she did not know about the true church, so we did ground her. But she was conductive in helping us with those get-togethers. Steve Patton, another example. I'm going to a church where this guy is an evangelist, and there's an apartment complex near where his church was. The church building is about the size of this building right here. He did apartment Bible studies. One of the members was there. He added a lot of people through apartment evangelism, door knocking there at different apartments. That church started growing. If you Google University Church of Christ in Tampa, Florida, you'll see it has quadrupled in size. It was this size and it got bigger. They expanded the building and they expanded it again. Because of the growth rate of evangelism, other members started coming because of the influx. And now there's 400 members. So Steve Patton is another example. And he regularly did evangelism. And the church has been around 20 years. When he started this, he started 20 years ago, and now it's 400 members. So, and just to let you know, I used to have extreme panic attacks, anxiety. It was hard to talk to anybody. But through degrees of doing things in small increments, I was able to get comfortable where I'm at now. So wherever you're at, you can slowly push the envelope, doing this and that, till you're able to progress to the area you feel comfortable with.
I just had an idea. Hopefully it's not a real bad idea, but I was actually walking down the driveway before services here at the building and thinking, watching the people drive by, and I was wondering what, maybe a lazy approach, but you had some pamphlets in your hand. You see homeless people standing on the corner asking for help. Would that be a good idea? Maybe, in the local area, you're already here, just stand there on the corner, especially right before services, and just hand out and say, hey, look, we're right here.
If people walking by, and let's see, tomorrow I'm going to talk about some examples of street evangelism, and one of those examples is exactly what you mentioned. I'll briefly mention it now. I lived in San Bernardino, California, an apartment complex. A guy put up a sign, a little sign, and a chair, and next to the road, people walking by, and he started getting Bible discussions going. I think he was a Mormon or something, but
it seems easier that way.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's a good idea. It's an exceptional idea. We'll get into that, but that is, people walk by, you just take.
Driving by, and they stop at the stop sign and say, hey,
you take this, absolutely. Absolutely, get their attention and give them material if they stop at a stoplight or walking by on the street. That's a great idea, absolutely.
And a lot of the apartments nowadays, they have gated community. Now, of course, the office is open. So most times people come in and they say no soliciting. They think somebody's coming in for a donation. Now, if you approach these apartment manager, so you let them know up first place this is not looking for donation. How have you done that? You've gone to, I know in Tampa you probably have a situation like there here. You got a lot of gated apartments. So how do you go out cold? You don't have nobody in there that you know.
That's an exceptional question. No soliciting apartments, no soliciting housing communities. I still go door knocking, and those areas have never had an issue. Now, there's a big sign that says don't solicit or such and such. We don't go there, but that's seldom an issue. If there's something that is on the door of somebody's house that says that, we just leave something. Obviously, you don't want to be bothered. But a lot of apartments have gates, but in Tampa, Florida, but a lot of them don't. So we primarily focus on those that don't have gates. But if the majority of apartments here have gates, then you can just simply go to the manager and share that you're going to invite people to come to church and give them things that can give them hope and meaning in life, and just give them free Bibles. It's hard for people to say no. Hey, we would like to offer your residents some free Bibles and some hope. That's they may say yes, they may say no, but also you can just, if the gates are open, you can just sneak in, and yeah.
And with the right approach, even the no solicitation can be turned around. The Walmart down here has a policy of no solicitation, even though I see people out in the parking lot. But then I asked the manager, I said, we'd really like to share this Bible study material. And she said, well, why don't you come into the employee lounge and leave some in there with the employees, and we can do it that way.
Excellent. Absolutely.
If you're persistent, there's probably a way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a powerful thing what he just says. If you're persistent, there's a way. For any evangelism thing, if somebody says you can't do such and such, you can find a way to do such and such. Just maybe, just a little different. But I had a friend who would stand outside of Walmart and pass out flyers, and outside of malls do the same thing, and until somebody told them to leave if they noticed. But you can put them inside, I went to I wouldn't say it's a battle of the tracts, where I went to a grocery store. I left tracts in the grocery store, and on salvation. So guess what? The next week there was a bunch of other tracts on the sinner's prayer. I added more tracts, and other religious groups started adding more tracts. But before then, there were no tracts. But that is a good way to reach people. When people read truth, the church I went to, San Bernardino, California, one of the elders was brought to the Lord because of a flyer. So it's not the most effective way to go about it, but it does work. It doesn't work as well as a personal interaction, but it can work. So yes, absolutely. That's a great idea. In evangelism work. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay, just saying in the corner of my eye. Let me share some evangelism methods that, like I mentioned about Ricky Shanks. Now, he's an exceptional evangelist. What he does, and this is just one way to go about it. And again, I don't endorse just doing a gospel meeting and expecting souls being saved just by having a gospel meeting. But what he does is he tells, if he's going to have a gospel meeting to teach the plan of salvation, he tells each to have a board on the back, and for each member to invite 5 of their friends or relatives to go on to the gospel meeting. And if you got the larger the group, the more likely people will come. And if you get 1 or 2 people and hear the plan of salvation, it can cause an effect. So that's what he does, especially in a large church of 100 people. If each person invites 5, it adds up. So that's one method of what he goes about doing. Now, what my go-to place is, and there's a competition in Tampa, Florida. The Mormons are very active, of course. They're active in every area. And the Jehovah's Witnesses are very active. But we go to campuses. There's a USF campus that's 30,000 people. And last time I was there, we got a Bible study going. We're going to get into that tomorrow, campus work. But I do campus work, street evangelism, where people walking down the park, and you just stand there with a clipboard, a smile on your face, and a sign-up sheet, and you wave at people and say, hey, would you like to sign up for a Bible study? We've got a good group going on. And people either say yes or no. But if there's good foot traffic, that works. Event evangelism. People are going to the hockey game in Tampa, Florida. There's a huge foot traffic line from there to the parking lot. And you just stand there with a clipboard, smile, sign-up sheet, and invite them to sign up for a Bible study. There's an example, a lady called Tiffany. When I did evangelism one day, one person was baptized. I don't think I mentioned that. I'll mention that. This guy was going to walk into parole. He was walking to show himself up to parole. And I was doing street evangelism. And I came up to him and said, we talked on that spot. We talked about salvation on that spot. We talked about the plan of salvation, what he needed to do to change God's sacrifice. We had a good, lengthy Bible discussion. And he says, I want to be baptized to have my sins washed away. So on his way to parole, we took him to the church. We baptized him. We encouraged him to get together and have more Bible studies. And then 30 minutes later, when we came back there, another person wanted to be baptized. And that's a fluke. It doesn't always happen that way. But her name was Tiffany. And she says, I want my sins washed away. So street evangelism, campus evangelism, if you want to get physical results, and it's good, to get physical results, again, it's about numbers. The more people you interact with, If you can, when I do door knocking, I tend to reach about an hour, 26 people. In an hour doing street or campus evangelism, I can reach a couple of hundred if it's a high traffic area. So what do you think would be more effective in reaching a large amount of people? Now both work. What we just covered, 9 people were converted through door knocking last year. So that works. But street evangelism, campus evangelism, to get people to sign up for Bible study signatures, you not only, you feel the results, you see the results. It's more gratifying, and it's an adrenaline pump going up to people and doing this. And then you get Bible study signatures, and you do this for a couple of, I do this each week. You're swamped in Bible studies in a couple of months. It's a wonderful experience.
You know, the scripture talks about sowing sparingly and sowing bountifully. Well, if you knew that you had a choice of where to sow, I would think that anybody that wants a crop would sow bountifully, and you'd go to the place where you have more opportunities rather than less opportunities. But sometimes the comfort level may be, well, I don't want to interact with anybody, so you'll go to the comfortable place and sow sparingly. But the scripture says that just reaps a sparingly. That
is powerful right there. What you sow is what you reap. And if you're not comfortable, please understand. When I first started doing evangelism, I was scared to death. So I just invited people on Facebook to church events, gospel meetings and stuff. Then I bridged from there to actually passing out flyers to friends and family. And I bridged from there. And we're going to, the evangelism book I will give tomorrow, it will talk about how to get comfortable wherever you're at in interacting with people socially when it comes to evangelism. How to get desensitized, get your skin thickened. This is have a program. This is the program I use to get desensitized. Because when I first started, I was so shy. I'm an extreme introvert, believe it or not. I was so shy I couldn't even talk to people. I did this program, and now I can go up to people on the street. So if you do this program, it will help you as well. And I'll give out the book. It'll be one per household, and you all can share it. I think I have about 20 books, I think. So it should be enough. But even with street evangelism, campus evangelism, to warm up, or when I first started doing this, I would just say, take one of these, a flyer, take one of these, just till I got comfortable, or wave at people. And then when I slowly got acclimated and adapted and became more comfortable in that regard, then I would accelerate and do more and more. But just start where you're at. Even if you just show up to do street evangelism or campus evangelism, you put up the table and the chairs and put out all the tracts and the flyers and everything, and you're there for moral support until you're comfortable with approaching people. Do what you can with where you're at. I haven't even mentioned Rebecca. Rebecca helped me with street evangelism, campus evangelism, and Bible studies at the San Bernardino Church of Christ. She's in her 30s, like some of you ladies are. And she would bring her little baby girl, cutest thing in the world, just smile on her face, her teenage son and her teenage daughter, and we would go to the ghetto, downtown areas which are very rough, and we would have Bible studies. Or we would go do campus work. And she first time she's ever been doing that, and she followed me and helped me do that. And that made a difference. A young woman with her little baby, her 2 teenagers, doing Bible studies with me, going to the campuses, doing work. So you can be a parent, you can be Jack Adams, like I said, I use him a lot as an analogy. He's in his late 60s, early 70s, and he, in 1 year, converted 100 people. He can outwork me. I'm 40-something. So whether you're in your 70s or you're 17, I can use some more examples. Kayvon. This guy, he's a preacher, and he preaches everything from his head. He got the scripture so well known, and he's only 19 years old. And he wanted to go door knocking with me one day, him and Roy Mason. Very dynamic young men, both 19 years old. One was still going to FC. And they went door knocking with me, all in their church suits on a Sunday afternoon after services. Guess what? They got 4 people giving them in one, no, we did 2 hours, their phone number. And these guys are dynamite. And they're 19, 18 years old. So like I said, you can be a Jack Adams or you can be a Roy Mason or Kayvon and do the work. You don't have to be Rory Spell, who's been doing it for 50 years and getting results. They're brand new. A lot of them are brand new and they're getting results. Janice Cheeves is brand new.
You know, I saw a lot of pictures of women working, and it has been mentioned to me before that, you know, in a congregation, if you can't get the men to go out into the field and is white for harvest, then maybe you need to really focus on trying to get the women to help. And it seems like maybe that's what I'm seeing percentage-wise. What is your experience about the men versus the women willing to help and go out with you?
Excellent question right there. We talked about that a little bit earlier. It's I don't know. I don't know. If women, raise your hands. Are you all more spiritual than men? I don't know that. I don't know, but I do know that when it comes to women, I do get a lot more women evangelists helping me than men evangelists. I don't know why that is, but yes, if the men aren't able or can't or whatever, the females, women. And it's good always have a female with you when you're having a Bible study with like a college student, female college student. It does make a difference as well, having a woman help with that.
I noticed that one apartment complex, it was 10 o'clock on a Wednesday when you were having that Bible study. I saw a lot of men there.
Oh yeah, most of them were new converts or are visiting non-Christians that were in that area. But yes, we did. In that picture, we did have 3 men helping us. Jack Adams, exceptional guy. He's about your age, really nice guy. You like him. And also Reggie Chiefs. He just started doing evangelism. Brand new. He's helping teach Bible classes. He's doing studies at the apartment complex. He's about 30-something years. He's about 50-something years old. Has a sweet little boy. He was helping. And we had a visiting young preacher, 19 years old. And he was out of state. He was visiting, and he wanted to join us. And so he was there as well. So usually, yeah.
And my point was that, you know, men have to provide for their family, and they're usually out working.
Absolutely.
Unless they're between jobs or retired.
Absolutely. That's a very good point. Men, when it comes to evangelism, not all of them can do it like on a Wednesday at 10 a.m. So if you're going to do an event, it's good to be mindful. Like a Saturday, Sunday, they may be more or better times, but to coordinate the events with what people can do. But when it comes to college campuses or street evangelism, a busy street on Friday evening, Saturday evening, you know, a lot of foot traffic, that can work. But for like an afternoon, doing campus work, it might be a little bit more difficult getting men who have a job during that time period. I absolutely understand. College students, there are not a lot of college students that in the cultural church kingdom who are doing evangelism. The demographic is very low, so it's refreshing to see Kayvon and Roy do that. When it comes to doing this work, I see you guys got like 4 different colleges in this area, and so I was talking with Ken about this, and you guys, we're going to talk about that tomorrow. You guys live in a free speech state. Florida is not a free speech state. That means I have to become a vendor if a college allows that. Like working at the flea market, I rent a booth. I can do that at a college. But if that college doesn't allow that, there's some colleges in Florida that doesn't allow that, then I simply get a flyer, a track, a sign-up sheet, and I just walk around the campuses like every other college. They have causes, they have people going about trying to save the planet, charities, political organizations, and I just sign people up for Bible studies. I approach people. Now, if I have a problem with that, I just stand outside the college, and foot traffic coming into the college, I do the same thing, just invite people to sign up for Bible studies. But you guys got a free speech zone area, so you just simply go to a college area where the staff work and ask, can I sign up for a free speech zone so I can pass out free material? And they'll ask what it is. We're going to pass out free Bibles. I've never had any problem with people saying yes in the colleges I've worked at doing this when it comes to free speech colleges.
And what kind of Bibles do you hand out?
American Standard Bibles. I got those Bibles. You can access them on the website. Just cheap, not too expensive, but they look nice. But
Star Publishing?
no, it's
New Testament or Old Testament
both.
Okay.
And primarily, it's used as a way just to put my foot in the door. If they let me pass the free Bibles, I also sign people for Bible studies. And it's a good way to get people's attention. Hey, would you like a free Bible? And gets people's attention. They either say yes or no, and you can start a dialogue with that. When I work at a campus or a flea market, and I have a table set up, I also have a sign that says free. That word is powerful. It gets people's interest. It gets people's attention. If you got free Bible DVDs, tracts, flyers, Bibles, materials, people will just walk over to see what you got. So when this church right here, I've heard some really good things about what y'all are doing, evangelism-wise. Now, I've heard excuses. I was invited a preacher to help me do evangelism. I invited him off and on for a year, and he says, I'm too busy. If somebody's too busy to do the New Testament command of following his word, then they're way too busy. I've talked to people who have health issues who do evangelism and have saved souls. I've talked to people who are sick and can able to do different types of evangelism. People who are working, Reggie Cheeves, he runs a business, and he takes time to do evangelism. So let me ask you guys a question here. If you wanted to do evangelism, what would be the three main issues that would get in your way that would make you think it would be hard, make it hard to do evangelism work? Can you all name one thing that would be difficult?
I know when we used to go door knocking in Indiana with our kids, and they were rather small, we didn't have any problem until we knocked on this one house. This lady was sitting outside on her porch, and we were talking to her, and you could tell she was scared. And we couldn't figure it out, and all of a sudden, here comes her husband. I mean, he let loose. And we just kind of slowly backed out of there and went to the next house and knocked on the door, and the lady said, I heard you had a run-in.
That makes it, that's a little spice to your life right there. The majority of people will be nice, friendly. Even if they don't want you there, they will be polite. But there are always, every now and then, some people who just want to make your life a little exciting. And so every now and then, now door knocking I think is one of the, if you want to become, I do door knocking. I got, somebody wants to have a Bible study every Saturday. And if you want to grow leaps and bounds doing evangelism, this is one of the more hardcore ways to do it, door knocking. Because you go up to a stranger's house, one at a time, knocking on some stranger's door. You don't know what's going to pop out, like Jack in the Box. And it could be, it's usually polite, but it's whereas people are just walking by and on the street or a campus and you're inviting people to sign up for Bible studies, it's less of a rejection factor because there's so many people coming by. But if you're just going to one singular person at a time, it is a rough way to do it. But if you get good at that, I don't think I'm going to get a chance to mention this tomorrow, so I'll mention it today. The 5-5 method. This is what the Mormons do. The Mormons do about 5 hours of door knocking, 5 days a week, and guess what they're doing? That's the major staple work, and they're growing leaps and bounds. They grow about 3 million every year. And a major way they do evangelism is door knocking. They have a rule of 1,000 houses to a Bible study or a Mormon book study. So that's the 5-5 rule. Secular institutions, there's some multimillionaires and who may have become multimillionaires by doing the 5-5 method. Or they do 5 hours, 5 days a week, door knocking to get prospects. And they've become millionaires doing that. If you go to my website, I will outline those millionaires and this method more. And I'm not saying do 5 hours a day for 5 days a week. I'm just saying they do it to that extent and they get dramatic results in a couple of months. But campus comes much quicker results, and street evangelism comes much quicker results, and cold approach. If you approach a lot of people with cold approach, you can get results really quick once you get really good at it.
I work on a law school campus, and the thing I find the most difficult is that you've got competing false doctrine Bible studies where I have my own little section of the world trying to teach the gospel and trying to live the way I say I believe. And then you've got people screaming out, I'm a Christian, and having these Bible studies. And when I attend them, they are like the warm and fuzzy. They don't want you talking about the specific passage or anything else. It's just like just encouragement and stuff. And I don't attend them anymore because there's no way to get your foot in the door. And then there's others where I have a colleague who is so negative. He runs a Bible study, but he's so negative that he drives people off. And then there's another. There's too many, and people lump us all together. So I don't know how to break through that, especially with limited time and students limited time. And I reach where I can reach, but I think I could do better if I had a better way of doing it.
We'll get into that tomorrow, but those are powerful things right there. First of all, there was a guy Jack studied with. When he got a contact, he would get together that contact and this other Christian, and they would get together, and that other Christian helping Jack would say, "You're going to hell. Instruments in worship is wrong." That's not the way to go about it. So Jack quickly quit associating with this guy in evangelism. When I have Bible studies at campuses, I have people sign up for Bible studies, and we get together, me and them one-on-one, and I bring a female if it's going to be if the contact is a female. What I found is if I have a Bible study with somebody, let's say I have a Bible study with that lady right over there, me and her, and I will bring another female present, and it'll be in a public location. Now, if it's a dude, we don't care. If it's just me and him in a public location, but females want another female present. So it's going to be a very close-knit, close Bible study. We'll talk about the plan of salvation and grounding aspects in two different studies. But it's not going to be like, I'm not going to invite people to a Bible study and there's going to be a bunch of non-Christians or people, Christians who are saying silly things. It's going to be a very controlled environment. At somebody's home for a home-cooked meal in a Bible study, or at Starbucks, or at the college library or cafeteria, or at the street area near Taco Bell. I've had Bible studies there. So those are venues that I pursue. And again, we're not going to do fluff and duff, though. I was studying with somebody who wanted to study with this person who wanted to have Bible studies, who wasn't a Christian. And he says, we're going to read through the book of Mark. Now, there's nothing wrong with reading through the book of Mark, but if you want to ground them and save them as quickly as possible, you go into the themes of salvation and grounding truths as quickly as possible. If you study with them take 6 months to go over the book of Mark or whatever, instead of going over the themes, you will lose them. And that is what that guy did with that lady. Secondly, once they're saved, get them grounded as quickly as possible. I lost somebody, Kay Baptiste. She had 7 kids. Wonderful lady, because she was not grounded. I said I was going to ground her. Somebody else says, I'll do it. I took them at face value. It turns out they didn't do it. And she fell through the cracks in a couple of weeks. So teach them salvation. Once they're saved, get them grounded quickly. If you don't get them grounded quickly, guess who's going to work on them? Their ex-pastor, their denominational friends, their relatives, their mom, their dad. Yep.
I'm sorry. When you say grounded, is that the necessary inference approved as polyscopic example? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like once they're saved, you teach them about they need to come to church regularly, they need to partake of the Lord's Supper, they need to, the importance of the true church Bible authority, of Bible study, of doing evangelism, the fundamentals, the principles of what, yes sir?
Really following on what he's really asking here is, do you have specific lessons that we could say, here's what we're going to do first, here's what we're going to do second?
Excellent.
Is Is that in your website? I didn't see it. I was just looking around.
Yeah, I have a free store. I guess store is not the right word, but it's free. Johnny Edwards, I've converted people using his book, Johnny Edwards. He has a home Bible study. Now these are three of my favorite books. Johnny Edwards, Home Bible Study. Great results. Bobby Bates, he has these tiny little baby booklets. Bobby Bates, again, you can access these. These things cost money, but their links are listed at my website, churchofchristevangelism.com. Just one word, churchofchristevangelism.com. These are the best Bible study materials I have used through the years. Bobby Bates, his books, Johnny Edwards, Home Bible Study, and I have my books, and they're free Bible lesson books. You can study the plan of salvation in one setting. At churchofchristevangelism.com, you can download my free salvation booklet. You can download my free grounding booklet, and you can teach them grounding truths in one setting at churchofchristevangelism.com. One word. And if you Google that, Google Church of Christ Evangelism, you will find me on the first page. So it's churchofchristevangelism.com. Excellent. We're going to get into that tomorrow a little bit. Very good point. And I've heard this from brethren. Don't go to the same area. But after 3 months, 6 months, usually when you go door knocking, it's going to be at a different house at any rate. People.
Until when I only went door knocking once, and it was with the Spanish congregation where I used to attend. So, and we're in Houston, and I'm pretty sure in Tampa. What happens when you have like a language barrier?
Now that's a good question. People have signed up for Bible studies, and I couldn't speak the language. If I can have a Spanish-speaking Christian, I've had help of Spanish-speaking Christians helping me. But if I don't have that resource, it does make it a little bit more difficult. But let me quickly just say about the door knocking. Then I can do the same area after 3 months because I knock on doors. And it won't always be the same people coming to the doors, or it won't even be the same houses people will open the doors at. So sometimes it'll be the babysitter, sometimes it'll be the mother, sometimes it'll be the visiting relative, their aunt, sometimes it'll be their 13-year-old son. So it's always somebody different, and it's usually different houses that open their doors. So I can do the same area again and again. Yes, ma'am.
In terms of the evangelism that you would do with the booth, street evangelism, or college campus, because Houston is such a big location and an individual might drive from Rosenberg to get to Channelview, how would you go about organizing or working with other local congregations to getting their flyers to say, hey, you can attend here, but we can do a Bible study here, or working in that regards? What would you do in that aspect?
That's a very good statement. Brother Timothy mentioned that yesterday. Let me give some examples. Rory Spell, he's one of the best street evangelists in the country. He's brought 50 people to the Lord in 9 years. And people in that community are aware of that, the churches in that area. And he's invited the preachers in those areas to join him. He's had some success in that. So he's expanded. He's expanding to include the whole country. Does anybody know what BOL is, Brethren Online? They're about to shut down, but basically it's a forum of conservative members who share news with each other virtually online. So he sends an invite to churches throughout the country, to Christians throughout the country through that BOL. There's other ways to go about it. And so it gets about a handful of preachers and Christians, and I was one of them at a point, to come up and join him once a week, for a week, to do evangelism with him, street evangelism and campus evangelism. And he does that 3 to 4 times a year, and he gets about 4 to 6 people converted. So he doesn't get a lot of responses from his local area, so he expands. So that's one way to go about it. I usually get about 5 people participating in the church I'm at, wherever I'm at. It's about 5 people. It's a small church. Usually I work around churches that have 50 people to 30 people. So it's usually about 5 people that...
That was going to be my next question, because We are a small congregation, however, we are also very diversified in our location. I don't know one individual who lives in the same neighborhood as the other one. We're all over Houston.
Excellent.
So how could we work with each other to set up a Bible study with, let's say, the Khaleesi's who live down in Rosenberg, but I'm speaking to somebody who's in Channelview.
Very
They can't make it there, or vice versa.
Very good. Let me just quickly also say I have got other church members from other churches to help me in evangelism besides my local church. So it is doable. It's just it's not going to be a large influx. Man, that's a good question right here. Okay, so I have an evangelism group, people that are helping me in evangelism. They live all over the place. An hour over here, an hour over here, hour over here, hour over here. So we all get together. First at the church building. Get together at the church building, talk out the game plan, what we're going to do that day, or the street work, campus work. I give the maps of where we're going to go, where we're going to meet up. We talk about it. We formalize the details and the data. Of course, we talk ahead of time, too. I send them emails about the event and everything and the details connected to that. So we get together at the church building. We talk about what we're going to do. I pass some materials connected to that, maps and materials we're going to pass out. Then we either go to, if we're going to do campus work, we do that. Flea market, we go there where we're going to meet up at the flea market.
So basically you go together as a group from throughout, so then that way when the individual meets you and is interested, they have met every individual who is basically part of it, so they don't get shocked with, oh, you're going to so-and-so's house, but you've never met them before.
Oh, for Bible studies. Yeah, well, when it comes to Bible studies, now this, you know, Bible studies, I like to keep them low-key, just me and maybe one or two more people. Now, if it's a family, like Brother Timothy and his wife and their child, if you invite somebody for a home-cooked meal and a Bible study, you can come over to their house, and it's a family, it's a small family, it's dynamic, it's friendly. But if everybody here shows up for a Bible study with somebody at one of y'all's homes, it would be a little too much. But so a small group, especially a family dynamic, is helpful, and a friendly group. So that's very good. But if it's some event, meeting up at the church building first, formalizing where everybody's going to go, where you're going to meet up at, and a plan of what you're going to execute, and then that's what we usually do for street evangelism, campus evangelism, and then we go to that location to do the work.
I appreciate Brother Anthony's prayer about this present crisis that we have. You know, the politicians won't leave it alone because they sense an opportunity. The same thing here. We have a spiritual opportunity. And I know that the brethren in Houston, no matter what congregation they're part of, they will rise to the occasion. So if we had a Bible study that was too far away from us to conduct, there's somebody over there that would take up that need and meet it.
Absolutely.
But you need to, use that opportunity to go there, that you found out that you can trust with this important work. It's too far away for us to handle it, and they're going to probably be living over there, worshiping over there and everything, but you met them at a stadium venue or a college venue.
Very good, very good.
Handoff.
Very good point. Expand your circle. It's if you visit gospel meetings, get connections with other church members, you can pass people on to other areas that can be of use and help. Very good point. Because nothing worse is if somebody's saved and they got to move to a place, 2 hours away, and where another church is, and you don't really know how to connect with that church. So it's good to be, very good point. Good to have connections with that.
We have examples in Scripture of that type of thing where Paul would write a letter to the congregation in a certain place that somebody is traveling to and tell them, greet this particular person. We have better ways of communication. We can call, we can text, we can do all those things. And I've had opportunities to cold call a person in another area and say someone is going to be in that area. Can you, we ask them to visit you. Would you make sure that you meet that person? So different things along that line. But we have to do more of. We're brothers and sisters in Christ. And the thing that we have to realize is I can call my brother or sister at another congregation, even though I don't know them, and say, can you do this or can you do that? And there are many that will gladly do that because they're looking at the same thing to save souls.
Very good.
It's an opportunity to save a soul.
And you're right, as scriptural. Paul made connections. He interacted. He talked with one church and talked to them about another church and extend my greeting to such and such. Very good point. Very good point. The interesting thing about evangelism is when you expand in this area, it will expand in your social areas and prospecting, networking, in your secular jobs, and your dating, and your social relation life, and in your friendships. When you can talk to somebody on the street or at campus or door knocking at the flea market, fairground, at a festival, or even cold approach, which is, we'll get into that tomorrow, which is the most versatile way to do evangelism, and I think is the most effective way, but it's the most advanced way. We'll get into that. And this young man right here, can I ask you a question? You seem to be very social and friendly. Like when I first came in, you started talking to me. And so it's when it's people like that, right, and I talked with you guys yesterday, and evangelism is about being personal, and how you're personal is just having conversations. And I will also detail, if you like these slides, you want to download any of them, go to this link right here, and you can download the slides and all my free Bible lessons and tutorial books on evangelism.